Hey, what's going on, guys? EBS Invest here, coming back with a new video. I get asked a lot, hey, how do I start investing? I'm 20 years old and I'm in college, or I'm 30 years old and I just need help. I need somewhere to start. You need that video for guidance. I'm going to be that guidance today. Remember, this is not financial advice, but I'm just going to help you guys out, help you get started. This video is for you. It's about how to open up a Roth IRA and how you can be a millionaire by the time you retire. If you could drop a like, subscribe, and maybe leave a comment on the video, that'd be great. Really helps with the algorithm, and as a small YouTuber trying to grow, that really does help me grow. And so if you could just help me out like I'm helping you out, that'd be awesome. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so on the agenda for today, we're going to talk about what is a Roth IRA. We're going to talk about how I can help you get started. I'm going to explain what an ETF is, and then I also have a few extra bonus things in here sprinkled throughout the video. So I really do recommend watching the video. It'll really help you out. Plus I have a few little key points that I think are very important for your journey. So let's get into it. Alright, so you're probably wondering, what even is a Roth IRA? Maybe you've heard about it. Maybe your parents, maybe your friends have talked about it. Maybe you had a teacher who was forced to tell you in high school. So Roth IRAs, really it's just a vehicle to get you into stocks and investing, and it's a tax-free way to retire when you're 59 and a half. So Roth IRAs are like 401ks that you get from your employer, but really it's you who are investing in the companies. It's yourself who is finding the stocks and ETFs to invest in, and generally Roth IRAs yield better returns than a 401k. So what that means is, if you were to go all in on 401k, you may net $1 million, but if you were to go all in on a Roth IRA, you can net 1.5 million. Don't get me wrong, you can actually have both. Maybe you can just stick with a 401k, but we're teaching you guys the Roth today, and I really do think that the Roth is just a better vehicle for you to get those higher gains and those tax-free gains. And then you also have control over it. You're not tied to a company or your specific asset manager. It's you who are doing the investing, so yourself, the individual, are able to control it. So I really do think that's valuable. And then plus you'll just be able to grow and learn and understand a sustainable way to invest. And so I really do think that's valuable, especially for a young investor. Alright, so now you're probably sitting here thinking, alright EBS, how great even is this really? So let's say you're 18 years old and you were to invest $150 a month, right? Now that's just on average, okay? Like you could start with $5 a month, and then when you're 40 or 50, you're investing, $500. So you get what I mean? It's going to average out. But let's just say for $150 a month for 42 years, so from 18 to 60, that's 42 years, you'll net around $1.5 million, okay? And you would only had to invest around $100,000 to $150,000. I'll show you guys in the next slide the specifics, but you can see at age 25, your net is going to be lower. If you wait till age 30, it's going to be even lower. If you wait till when you're 40, it's going to be even lower. So you can see the yellow is the total amount that you invested, and the blue is your return. So you can see as the longer you wait, you'll have to invest more, and generally your returns are going to be less. Now this is just a simple bar graph, right? It's not going to be exact, but you're understanding what I'm saying. The earlier you start, the better. You may be saying, well, how does that even work? It's because it's compounding, right? If when they say $1 a day is just better than a lump sum. So it's like, imagine if $1 multiplied by 2 every day. That's compounding. So it's kind of like what you're doing with stocks and your Roth IRA. So your Roth IRA every year is going to compound at a certain rate, and so that way 20 years from now it's just going to start rolling and rolling. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It's going to start small, but imagine get to $1 million and it's compounding at 10%. Well, that's an extra 100k. So you get what I'm saying here. So let's move on. I'll show you guys the government investor website, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Alright, so I'm on the investor.gov website. So I just searched compound interest calculator. This was the first one that popped up. You can easily do this. So let's just say you start with $300, right? You're able to scrap up $300. Not too hard considering you're 18. You probably have a little bit saved up. And then let's say, like I said, you could do $75 a month. Then when you're older, really increase that. but just for an average assumption, let's just do $150. Length and time, 42 years, right? 18 to when you're 60. Then 11.5% return. Now, I do think on average you'll get about 8 to 10.5, but I think the way I have my beginner portfolio set up at the end, you'll see, I think you really will be able to get 11.5%. I think you'll actually be able to get more, especially if you invest in the right individual stocks. So I think if you pick the right individual stocks that'll really grow well, then I think you definitely can even beat this. And then bam, $1.5 million. And then look at this. I only had to invest $75K. All right. Now let's just say you did the exact same thing, but you waited till you're 25. So this dropped by 7 years, so you only had 35 years to invest. Bam. You just missed out on half your money. Now let's say we go to that 30-year figure, right? And then we only have 30 years to invest. We just lost almost half of that. And then let's say you start when you're 40, so you only have 20 years to invest. 125 grand. So you can see how when you're starting at 18, you'll be able to do so much better than these people who are starting at 25, 30, or 45. Like, look at this. If we go back to our number of starting at 25 years old, 700 grand, right? That's still a lot of money, but imagine if you start today. If you literally just start today, like I'm doing in this video and helping you out, you will literally make twice as much. You'll make 1.5 million. That sounds pretty good to me, and that probably sounds pretty good to you. So you can play around with this calculator. There's other calculators. I really like this one, but I just think this really goes to show you that investing early really does help you out. All right, so now after seeing that, you're probably pretty excited. You can see the $1.5 million in your eyes 40 years from now. But now you're wondering, all right, EBS, how do I even start on this journey? Well, that's a great question. So maybe you partner with a big bank. Maybe you have Wells Fargo, Bank of America, U.S. Bank. You get what I'm saying? The big banks. They may offer Roth IRAs, but I recommend going a different route. But remember, this is your choice. This is your investing. But I'm just going to show you 2 simple ways that you can start. And so I recommend Charles Schwab and Fidelity. And I'm going to jump over and I'm going to show you how you can actually open up an account with them. It's actually really simple. So now I'm showing you guys how you can open up your account. So I recommend 2 companies really. It's a company called Charles Schwab and Fidelity. Okay, so sure, maybe you have Robinhood on your phone, maybe you have Webull, maybe you have, like these Zoomer generation investing apps. I really don't like them because you have to consider in 40 years, do I think Robinhood will be around to protect my assets? I personally don't think so. Maybe you do. That's great. But I like Charles Schwab and Fidelity because I know that they can't go out of business. And if they do, another giant bank will buy them up. So, your assets will be okay in my mind. But all you have to search up is Schwab Roth IRA and then Fidelity Roth IRA. And then you just go here and open up an account. It'll take you less than 15 minutes. Just make sure that you have your social security number ready. You may be wondering, well, why do I even need that? It's because I have to identify and make sure that you're 18 and that you're a U.S. citizen. So let's say I'm new to Schwab. We load this up and see all it needs is your information. You go through these 4 steps. And then funding is like applying, maybe you have a savings or checking account. You can apply that to be external so that way you can actually fund your Roth IRA. And then Fidelity is basically the same way. You just click on the link and then you go through the process of opening up a Roth IRA. And then it's basically the same thing. No, and then you can see details, next. And you can see it's practically the same thing. You fill that out and then you'll have your account. And so it's really simple. I'd recommend maybe you're having a tough time choosing between the 2. I use Charles Schwab. I tried using Fidelity. I really wasn't a fan of their UI, but maybe it's your cup of tea. If this is a really big decision for you, do your own personal research. But I personally recommend Schwab. But if you want to go with Fidelity, that's A-okay. All right. So now you got your account all opened up, and now you're wondering, what do I even invest in? So I really do recommend ETFs. And you're wondering, all right, EBS, I don't even know what an ETF is. That just sounds like stupid language. So I'm going to explain it to you. So an ETF is known as an exchange traded fund. It's basically an invest in like a pool of stocks that track the overall market, and they reduce your risk. So instead of investing in one single stock, you're going to be invested in hundreds of stocks, and that way like your risk is just way lower. So if one company fails, you're not out a whole lot, right? It's like you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So it's really nice because you can see on the left I have a simple pie graph. So you could see it could be a certain amount goes into healthcare, communications, maybe some green energy, financials, oil, and tech. Now that could be how a breakdown of a certain ETF is, but that was just an example one. Um, I really do like SCHX. That tracks the overall stock market. It has performed pretty well. It's like VOO if you've heard of that. There's SCHG, which is a growth fund. That one's half tech. So if you really do think tech is like the future, definitely recommend that one. Then there's SCHD, and so SCHD is a dividend fund. I recommend that one if you're getting close to retirement age and you need that dividend income. But when you're young, you really want that growth. So I wouldn't put as much into there. And I'll show you in the next slide a very simple portfolio to get you started as a beginner investor. So this is my beginner portfolio. I call it the 80-20 split. So you can see 80% of the money is into the ETFs like I talked about. So we have 50% in SCHX. So that tracks 670 of the United States' biggest companies. So you're going to get exposure to like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. It's the biggest companies in the United States, right? It's really the S&P 500. And then SCHG is that growth fund. Then SCHD is that dividend fund. And then you can see I have 20%. That's just set aside for individual stocks. So maybe you really like Apple and Apple just speaks to your heart. Well, there you go. Put some money into Apple. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do this, right? You can contact a financial expert if you want, because everyone's different, right? And people have different risk tolerances and different timelines. But I really do think that this is a great way to start your portfolio, because ETFs, I like to think of them, they're like the foundation for your house, right? It's going to give you the concrete and the pillars, and then the individual stocks are really what's going to make your house pretty. So the ETFs, they're going to net you a great return, and then those individual stocks, those will just take care of that little extra percent to boost you to make you a little bit more money. So I really do like this because you're going to have less risk. So you're not going to throw your money in hype stocks, then lose it all, and be 40 years old and be like, I have no life savings, right? This will really keep you safe, but also really make you grow. And this is what I'm planning to do to get to that $1.5 million mark. Like if you look at my recent portfolio video, 80% of my money is exactly like I said. It's exactly like this. So I really do preach this, and I really do appreciate it. And then we're going to talk about risk and why to never sell, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right. So I want to talk about don't ever sell your assets, okay? Let's say you invest in 80% in the ETFs, and 5 years from now, the economy hits a huge recession, and your stock account, your Roth IRA, it's down, negative 30%. You're freaking out. You want to pull your money out. Do not sell, okay? There are going to be penalties resulting in taking out your money early. But the big thing is look up the S&P 500 right now, and it is up, okay? Yes, the hard times suck, but if you have the timeline of 40 years, do you think the S&P 500 will be higher than it is today 40 years from now? I personally think so. And markets have always prevailed. Even in our worst times in the 2008 financial recession, the market is way higher than it was then. So just don't sell. Whatever you do, try not to sell unless you picked a terrible individual asset and it's just performing terrible and you want to take your money out. But don't sell out of these ETFs. I promise you 40 years from now, they will be the best investment you ever made. And then don't get FOMO. FOMO means fear of missing out. Don't just buy stuff on a whim because you think it looks good, like AMC or Bed Bath & Beyond. Just don't get fear, because fear really drives out new investors and keeps them from investing, right? Warren Buffett always said, get greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. So that's all I have for you guys today. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. I'd be glad to help if I can. I will do a video in a little bit on how to trade inside your Charles Schwab, but I figured this was a long enough video and I just wanted to help get people started in a Roth IRA. I really do appreciate everyone's time. If you watched all the way to the end, hopefully I helped you out. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I spent hours on this video, so I would really appreciate a sub. Thanks, guys. This has been EBS Invest, out.